Saturday Social is powered by FIFA 22 with PlayStation.
It feels only right that we should talk Arsenal, Zac, because
Yes.
a bit of talk about them on social media. And, of course, Timbsy is in the building, big Arsenal fan, we know.
Indeed. It wasn't the best week for Gunners. Obviously, they lost to Everton away. And not only that, but Sky Sports' Gary Neville had this to say about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
Something's brewing there, do you think?
Yeah, it is going to, isn't it? There's always that little bit of a bug there between, you think, Arteta and Aubameyang. I know he's the captain, but he leaves him out, and it just feels like it's something a little bit awkward. And it's going to cause a problem. I suspect if he could probably get money for him and get someone else, he probably would. And I bet if Aubameyang could probably sort of move on, he probably would as well. Because I think it's just maybe could turn a little sour.
Yeah, interesting. So those are the thoughts on Gary Neville on Monday Night Football. Now, Mikel Arteta was actually asked to describe his relationship with Aubameyang yesterday. That was following Gary Neville's comments on Monday Night Football. So here's what Mikel Arteta had to say.
I don't know. I have a very good relationship with my players, and because the first one thing that I have to understand is that I always do the best for the club and for the team. And after I can benefit any of the individuals, I will always do it. And the decisions are not personal. The decisions are just to get performance and the best out of the team, and that's it.
I mean, Neville also suggested that you might consider selling Aubameyang in January. Is that something you've thought of at all?
Obviously, we have never discussed something like this, and when players are under difficulty or the team is under difficulty, what we have to give is support.
So we've heard from Gary Neville there, we've heard from Mikel Arteta there. Now, we believe, there's a lot of reports going around, a lot of reports that we're reading, that we believe Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang might not be in the squad for Arsenal this weekend. The reason being is slightly unknown at this stage. So, having heard from sort of all the parties there, Timbsy, what is your sort of impression and your understanding of what is going on there and the relationship between Aubameyang and Mikel Arteta? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a tough one because obviously Aubameyang's just in a bit of poor form, really. Like this season, he hasn't really. I mean, since he signed his contract, it's been the Arsenal thing where players sign contracts and then suddenly not playing that well. But the Arteta Aubameyang, I don't know, it's not even a thing yet as we know it, just because we don't know the details. But I don't know, it's sort of happened before. Like you see, like Aston Villa, like they drop in Mings and stuff. So it's not an unknown thing. It's just a shame to see it as like who's supposed to be your leader and your captain and your main goal scorer. You sort of have to leave him. I don't blame Arteta for leaving him out, and I actually kind of like
because
the fact
of form.
Because of form,
yeah.
like personally, I have no idea. More than any other Arsenal fan, if there's actually anything going on between them. But just from a pure form point of view, I sort of agree with it. I quite like that he is that decisive and that kind of cutthroat, because you want that from a manager to reward people who are playing well and have to make the tough decisions. So. I don't know at the moment, but in terms of form, I agree with it.
Yeah, you said this since his contract, so let's talk about his contract. He's 32 now. Contract he signed reportedly to be in the region of £250,000 a week, but it's believed to be nearer £350,000 a week when you consider the loyalty payments and the bonuses that he's getting. Yeah. So 3-year contract, so therefore worth around the sort of mid-50 million mark, 55 million mark for a player of 31 years of age. But obviously when he signed it, he was in great form. So Timbsy referenced it. Obviously, Arsenal have had the issue with Ozil in his contract, Willian. What are your thoughts on the contracts and whether that was a good thing or a bad thing? Because we do know on his day, Aubameyang is a quality player.
Yeah, sure. I think the broader point, which is something that I feel like Arsenal are actually addressing as a club, are contracts like that. And I guess you hope, if you're an Arsenal fan, this is just the last one of these silly contracts that you did where you essentially panicked and went, he's good. We haven't got anyone nearly as good as him. He's just scored in an FA Cup final. Get him to sign the damn thing, I think was the phrase at the time. And it's not the way of doing it. And that's what's got them into so much trouble. What they have done brilliantly over the last year or so, since then, is they've got rid of a lot of these older, high-earning players. David Luiz, what's his name? Mustafi, Willian, all these players. So they have gone... I think there are different stages as you're starting to build a club. I think what I'd be really nervous about is if something like this ever happened again. I think it is interesting, though, the points that he made, because there were ways out of it for Arteta there where he could have gone, well, we've got to use the squad here. It's the Christmas period. We've got so many games coming up and we've got to use the whole squad and keep them all going. And he kind of didn't say that, which makes me feel like there's got to be kind of something wrong, and rightly so, because he's not scoring goals.
Yeah.
Well, now, a big question we've got to ask, I guess, is should he be sold? Neville thinks that might be the better thing to do. Arteta said that they've not had that conversation. Do you think it'd be best for both parties if he was to be sold in January?
If we have a replacement, then I guess so. But I don't know. Like Lacazette again is not doing too well in front of goal. And I love Lacazette. I love Aubameyang as well. But it's if there's not a direct replacement who is in form, who can guarantee us those goals, then I think it might be a little bit silly to do it in January rather than maybe the summer when you can have a bit more time to line up a replacement. But again, on the contract side of things, I think it's hard to almost paint people with saying like he's got this new contract and obviously paying all this money and then suddenly stops playing or stops scoring. But it's sort of double-edged sword, because if he's doing it, if he's just guaranteed his money and so he doesn't really care about football, surely if there's all these bonuses in place which is worth another millions, then it means he'll score more goals. It's sort of, you can't have it both ways. Not to obviously.
No, I don't think there's any. I don't ever doubt that players aren't trying. I never doubt that. Like, you know, they've got to that point. They're the 1% of footballers. The point for me is the broader point of giving anyone over 30 an outrageous contract, and that was done to sort of panic and keep Arsenal at the top. I think Arsenal fans generally know where they are now, and if you look at the recruitment, and there's been a lot of recruitment, they've kind of worked from the back. The goalie's been sorted, the two centre-backs have been sorted, the midfield's now getting sorted out, and you've got these exciting young players coming through. So it would have been stupid to give Aubameyang a contract and then get him out sooner than right now.
For sure, yeah.
The smart thing for me, I think, is to let him go, because you want a whole squad to grow.
For sure.
Well,
so do it in the summer.
How much do you think Arsenal would be getting for him now? He's obviously been like 33 by then.
Yeah, I don't think you get anything. I don't think you get anything for Aubameyang because he's older, because of the wages, and you've kind of. I still don't know how they got rid of Willian, to be honest, because that's good money.
I think we paid him.
Right. Well, there you go. So I don't think. Again, that's the point. Step back and go. We've got a 33. We're giving a 31-year-old a 3-year contract. He's going to be 34.
Yeah.
So how much are we going to get for a 34-year-old?
Yeah.
Nothing.
The problem.
So buy 24-year-old.
I
don't think you get anything because the wages.
I agree, because it is the same thing with Ozil. His wages are so high that no one's going to pay to get him and then have to pay his wages. I think the problem comes from Arsenal it getting to that point where at that time we were, I say, reliant on Aubameyang and his goals, because he was banging in goals, where we kind of forced ourselves into a corner where we're reliant on one player and we've let his contract run down to such an extent that we then need to pay that much money. So it's our own fault almost.
Yeah. Whereas now there should be that plan in place with these new players coming through.
Yeah. And so it's hopefully, fingers crossed, like this is the last time it's gonna
You
happen.
mentioned players there. Then what do you think Arsenal need to do in terms of in January? Because obviously biggest spenders in the summer. And I've got to say as well, a lot of the players that you've recruited have turned out to be very good.
Aaron
Ramsdale is one of them. Is a prime example. People are saying he's going to be battling out with Jordan Pickford amongst others for the number 1 jersey.
Yeah.
Who would you sell in January then? Are there players that you think you need to sell?
So I think the Pepe problem needs to be resolved as well, because that's obviously not desirable.
Would you sell Pepe if you got the right money for him?
I really like him as a player. I think there's a really good player in there. So I would always like to keep the whole Arsene Wenger mentality that he had, where he believed in players to the point where it was actually almost detrimental to the team. I'm like that, so I always prefer to stick with players. But if Arteta's going to keep being as cutthroat he is, which I'm glad he is, then I wouldn't be surprised to see us sell maybe 1 or 2 players in January. Like Pepe might be one of them as well. But again, in terms of replacements, we definitely need a striker if Aubameyang doesn't start scoring goals. So whoever that is, if it is maybe Tony, or if it's Dominic Calvert-Lewin, whoever it is, I wouldn't be unhappy.
It's going to be a really awkward January, because you talk about Aubameyang or whoever, apart from Premier League teams, like who's got the money for these players? That's the other thing. Yeah. Pepe is an interesting one. I think Pepe is the one that you might be able to get some money for.
Would you sell him then if you?
I think I would, because in terms of I think how Arsenal are going to play now, and Tierney's going to bomb on. You got Saka who kind of goes and helps out. You got Smith Rowe and Odegaard in those little areas there. And Pepe kind of likes to go inside a lot of the time, and so you're kind of going into someone's space a lot of the time. Yeah. So I just don't think he fits what Arteta wants to do. And so the sooner you get him off, one, the wage bill, and two, whilst he's got a bit of time on his contract, the more money you're going to get.
I think it's almost like inevitable that this was going to happen, though, where Arteta's obviously very prescriptive and he has a very clear idea of how he wants to play. So inevitably, not everyone is going to fit into that quite naturally. Yeah. So players like Pepe, who are tricky and maybe a bit unpredictable, I think he prefers a more predictable sort of player who can fit into a very specific mould. But obviously, I mean, Arteta's been doing this for less than 2.5, 3 years now. So it's his first managerial job. So he's gonna make mistakes, and there's gonna be a few bumps along the way. And this is just another thing that he has to work out. So then, in 5 years' time, he might realise that maybe I could have been a bit more relaxed with a few of these other players. Yeah. So.